welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and today I have the special opportunity to interview a fellow small business owner in the Hoboken, Jersey City area, Anand Sukhadia, who owns Life Spa. It is a modern recovery spa located in Jersey City, and we're going to cover flotation therapy. Anand Sukhadia is a first-generation American of Indian descent. Being around allopathic and holistic health practitioners throughout his upbringing, he knew his calling was in bridging together the best values of East and Western worlds and to do it with a spiritual and holistically health-related flair. He's the founder and director at Life Wellness Modern Recovery Spa located in Jersey City. Life is an eco-modern wellness sanctuary that marries ancient healing knowledge with new technology. And Life has been named as the best breakout business in Jersey City in its first year and is the most unique wellness experience in Hudson County. In just under 3 years, they have aided over 6,000 individuals in stress management, athletic recovery, and lowering inflammation through their unique suite of holistic health modalities. He's also the host of the new Limitless One podcast, which is a conversational platform that interviews individuals living a limitless life by being aligned on their soul's purpose. And Anand's mission in life is to inspire and transform the mental, physical, and spiritual health of his community and planet at large. He loves to travel the world, connect with other open-hearted beings, and is continually seeking truth and light through his meditation, self-development, and other spiritual practices. You can find out more on Instagram at anand.life and his websites, om.life and anand.life, ANAND.life. For public speaking, advertising, and other inquiries, email him at anand@om.life. Hello, Anand. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Great to be here. Thank you, Dr. Laura.
Yeah, so this is going to be a fun episode because we personally know each other. We're small business owners in Hudson County and connected in the holistic healing arts. And I'm excited to share with my podcast audience essentially about one of the services you offer at your spa, flotation therapy. So let's start off with talking about a little bit about you and how you got into holistic healing and flotation therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in a family of there's doctors and then also Ayurvedic doctors. So I got to see the whole spectrum of East and West. And I realized at some point that in order to be healthy, you have to be proactive about your health. So I came more on the holistic side. And I've always been a business owner, an entrepreneur my whole life, did a lot of different things. But after an experience with ayahuasca, actually back in 2015 or 14, actually it just showed me that if I wasn't living my purpose, then I'm not really fulfilling what I'm supposed to be doing here. So from that experience, it just led me to follow my lifelong path of opening up a holistic wellness center that has many different holistic modalities that marries East and West, marries ancient knowledge with new technology. So through that process, I started finding all the different services that I wanted to put together to create this wellness sanctuary, Life Wellness Modern Recovery Spa here in Jersey City. And flotation was really the number one therapy that I wanted to offer because it complements every single other therapy that we offer, which is cryotherapy, infrared saunas, CBD oil massages, fascial stretch therapies, hypnosis. So a spa for the mind, the body, and the soul. And flotation is the most integral part.
I love it. And, I'm a big fan of all those services, and they're just very complementary with chiropractic and all of the work I do here as well. So I've been referring patients there for years and referring a lot of my pregnant patients as well. So I thought it would be great to kind of focus in on, first of all, you can explain what flotation therapy is, and then we can kind of dive deep into how we use it for fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum.
Yeah, absolutely. So floating has been around actually for quite a while, since I think even the 50s, the first iterations of float tank, and then into the 70s, Dr. John C. Lilly, he was a psychologist or psychiatrist, and he was studying the mapping of the human brain, and he considered it a supercomputer. So in order to get his experiments, he actually mimicked ancient knowledge with people using the Dead Sea, using the magnesium, getting weightless in order to heal themselves, and then actually absorbing that magnesium. So he put together the first modern float tank. It's basically what it is now. It's 10 inches of water with 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt, and that's concentrated with magnesium sulfate. And the magnesium sulfate allows you to be buoyant in the float tank. So I could put a bowling ball in the middle of the float tank and it's not going to sink to the ground. Same thing with our body. When we lay in there, we're totally effortlessly floating. Now, the water temperature is about 93.5 to 94 degrees, which is the same as the outside skin temperature. So you don't know where your body ends and the water begins. And then if you want to have the true, sensory deprivation experience, then you can remove the lights. You can remove the sound, which we play music in there as well. And there's no gravity. So when you remove all those sensory inputs, you're able to reach that sensory deprivation where we even say it's enhanced senses, because when you remove all that, you're just left with the mind. And if you're left with the mind and you're able to relax it, then you could enter deep meditative states, which they call theta brainwave states. So the first thing is you're going to lose sense of your body, which a lot of people, they long for, walking around every single day, especially pregnant women. They're carrying extra weight on them, and there's a lot of pains, a lot of aches, and there's not many places where they can seek relief. And floating is probably one of the most effective ways for them to reach that weightlessness that they desire. And also, even in some cases, they're able to go in the belly down position where they're able to see a lot of more relief as well.
Right. So you're taking gravity out of the picture, and that just gives a lot of relief for the joints and muscles that are working harder during pregnancy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, flotation therapy has been around, like you said, the tank was a few decades ago, but really it's been around for centuries. You mentioned the Dead Sea.
Yeah, so people have been going for hundreds, if not thousands of years in the Dead Sea with the regenerative properties. When people had any issues, being around that water, and salt is very healing. So, I don't know the exact science behind it, but people have for centuries, for millennia, going there and seeing a lot of benefits to their bodies. Actually, so breathing in that salty air, it helps with your respiratory system. It helps detoxify you, the magnesium sulfate, so skin conditions get better. It helps with rehydrating the body. When you get magnesium sulfate transdermally through the skin into the blood, it also raises your pH levels. So when we're in an alkaline state, we have a lot better health than we do when we're acidic. So there's many benefits to it.
Yeah, I love that. And my sister has a salt room in Milford, Connecticut. So in that case, it's used for the respiratory benefits and detox, right? By having the salt exposure that you're breathing. But I remember when I went to Poland, there was a salt mine in Wieliczka, and I got to go in there, and you're breathing this air, and it's so clean, right? And you can feel it. You can feel that cleansing happening. So it's very cool.
Yeah, a lot of people use Himalayan salt lamps, but when you're inside of a salt mine or inside of a float tank, all that air is totally purified because you're getting negatively charged ions. So it just scavenges all these free radicals. So it helps you, with antioxidants. It helps eliminate any kind of pollution in the air. It is one of the greatest therapies for sure.
Very cool. And, we were speaking negative ions. I'm thinking like when we go to the beach, walking on the sand, we're getting those negative ions. In general, like our lifestyles, we're overly positive, right? And that creates stress on our body. And you mentioned oxidative stress. So this is helping to reverse aging and all of the things that are beating our bodies down, right?
Absolutely.
So it's so cool. So you mentioned at your spa, if somebody's going there for a float, may just walk us through what a float looks like.
Yeah, so pretty straightforward. We also have videos on our website. So when a guest comes in, obviously they're going to do a waiver beforehand just to make sure that they don't have any underlying conditions that would prevent them. So let's just talk about the contraindications real quick, just so audience has an idea. If you have any open wounds or if you have any epilepsy, that's one of the bigger contraindications because you might flip over during that time, during that experience. Other than that, it's a very relaxing experience. It's very passive. You're inside the tank and you're just laying there, and you could fall asleep. It's not really any problems. But when you come in the room, we'll instruct you to shower beforehand. You're going to float nude. Contrary to all the pictures you might see on our Instagram where we have people in bathing suits, it's only for pictures. But you're going to float nude. You're going to shower first. You're going to wipe off any oils, lotions, hair products that you might have on. We give shampoo. We give body wash as well. Then you're going to dry off your face because you don't want any water dripping down your face while you're floating. Otherwise, you're going to want to itch, and salt water is going to get in your eyes. So that's one of the things you want to watch out for. Once you get in there, you lay down, and then you can decide whether you want the lights to remain on. In 2 out of the 3 of our tanks, we have starlights in there. So they're really beautiful little shimmering starlights. You can leave those on. We also have a main light in all 3 of the tanks, so either on or off. And then we also have like this binaural beat music to help enhance your meditation, to get you into more of that theta state. So you can leave that on or off. I personally enjoy shutting everything off and just experiencing the darkness. No sound, no gravity. That's really my time to go inwards.
Me too, by the way. I like all the senses not distracted.
Yeah, for sure. And then even the first time, it might be nice to have it on, or it seems like a cool way to experience it. But then once you really understand what the float's about after the first session, then it's really cool to experiment with the darkness. Because when I'm in the darkness, sometimes I actually have visualizations and I see things in fluorescent colors and all this kind of stuff. And that's just our minds kind of like slowing down and winding down. And we're able to see so much more in just that darkness. So the darkness provides a lot of insight into our bodies. A lot of people reconcile a lot of relationship issues. People remember things from the past. People heal a lot of things. So emotionally, mentally, spiritually, there's a lot of benefits to it that way. And also for pregnant people who come in, we also give them the option of a pregnancy pillow. So it's like this large blue pillow. It's about this thick, and it allows you to go belly down. And then we'll also give you some props as well. So like pool noodles. So you have a bunch of pool noodles to help support your hands this way. The biggest thing if you go belly down is you don't want to get any salt in your eyes. So try to avoid that at any costs, because that really is the one thing that could disrupt the experience. But also for the pregnant women who feel comfortable on their back, which normally they don't, but in a float tank, a lot of people do feel that comfort level because you're removing the gravity. So it helps with the back pain as well.
Right. And the other issue, like in the end of pregnancy, is the weight of the belly of the baby pushing up against the inferior vena cava, which I'm assuming isn't going to be as intense if they're floating. So once again, that pressure is alleviated.
Yeah. And as a doctor, do you know of any other services or things that pregnant women can do to alleviate that gravitational effect?
Swimming.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of OB midwives will recommend. And not everyone has access to a pool to go swimming. So this, it's the same idea. How do you get weightless without going to space? In general, when there's the pain in the pelvic area, the ligaments, muscles, and joints, it's just nice to take that pressure off. It's just removing the gravity. But I like how you mentioned too about the Epsom salt. So it's tons of magnesium, and it's just different than the magnesium you're taking orally. So like you mentioned, it kind of absorbs differently. It's really good for muscle spasms and tension. It's detoxifying the muscle, but also infusing magnesium into the muscle. So I'll see sometimes pregnant women that have really tight muscles, Charlie horses, or other types of cramping in their muscles. Magnesium is helpful for that.
Yeah, I think there was actually a 2016 study that said approximately 50% of Americans are low on magnesium consumption. So magnesium is one of these minerals that actually don't get endogenously produced inside the body. So you have to take it externally. And a lot of people don't realize that, it's a very important part of our health. And that leads to bad sleep. It leads to acidity. It leads to so many things when we're magnesium deficient, as well as osteoporosis. Like when we don't have enough magnesium or alkaline minerals inside the muscles, the tissues, the bones, our body has to leach it in order to create a higher pH in the body to keep us in a healthy like homeostasis. So when we're not taking those minerals in, they're getting pulled from our bones. So it's very important to stay hydrated, and also with magnesium, because it provides over like 300 enzymatic processes in the body. So when you're in the magnesium, obviously it helps to keep everyone afloat, but also transdermally is probably the best way to absorb it, because when you're taking it orally, then your body has to digest it, turn it into a liquidy ash, and then go into the bloodstream, whereas this is going directly in there.
Right. And it's directly into the musculoskeletal system as well. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Sometimes I'll recommend like a topical magnesium cream, but this is hitting the whole body.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, actually, when I was researching pregnancy and floating, it seems like in hospitals, they do give IV drips of magnesium sulfate to women preterm in their labor process.
They do, because it slows down the uterine contraction if they're having preterm labor. However, it makes women feel really sick. So once again, IV as opposed to transdermal, and I'm sure the dosage is very different as well. It's a different experience.
Yeah, the body will take what it needs, versus
Exactly.
getting it forced in.
Exactly. That's a big difference. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the studies you've seen about how float works directly with stress management. I think in general, we all need more assistance with managing our stress, especially recently. And certainly if there's women that are having fertility challenges, I know that's really stressful, and stress is linked to infertility. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So while there aren't like tons of studies on it, there are some really interesting ones. There's a guy named Dr. Justin Feinstein. He's at the Laureate Brain Institute in Oklahoma, and he got a grant to do flotation therapy studies. He calls it REST. It's called Restricted Environmental Stimulus Therapy. And essentially, contrary to what we have some tanks that actually do close down on top of you. We have a cabin that is high ceilings. You open a door, but he used open pools, right? So you're in this room with an open pool. So this way there's nothing closed down on you. So that eliminates anyone who, or it eliminates the fear of any kind of claustrophobia, right? So that's the only difference between what we do and what they did in their studies. But essentially, he had 50 participants ranging from mild anxiety all the way to full-scale depression. And he studied every single one of them, their stress levels. I think they used the Spielberger State Anxiety Inventory Scale. I guess it's just a scale system where, you could say where you are on that scale based on your anxiety levels. So anyways, they asked every single one of them, what was your number on the scale beforehand? And then after an hour of floating, where were they then? And then every single one of the 50 participants noticed a dramatic decrease in stress levels, and increase in happiness factors and their hormone levels. So I don't know of any medicine that's ever done that 100%. Obviously, there needs to be more studies that have to be done, but this is well documented. It's peer reviewed. So, floating is scientifically proven to lower your cortisol levels, your stress levels. They also took 30 participants that didn't suffer from any anxiety. So they did a control study. And then from there, every single one of them as well had a higher level of happiness, less stress going on in their lives. So on both levels, it helps. And the people that were the most stressed, had the most depression, they noticed the biggest increase in or decrease in their stress levels.
That's so cool. How many times did they float?
I'm sorry?
How many times did they float?
So I believe they did 3 floats, but they were this particular one is just after one float session.
Oh, wow. And that float session was 60 minutes long?
60 minutes, yeah.
That's amazing. It's that simple. And I mean, I think sometimes, I think in general, we talk a lot about meditation on this podcast, and we all know meditation is beneficial to help with stress and really managing life, right? I mean, life is intense, and COVID has been intense for a lot of people. So we're always looking, how can we better manage our stress? And sometimes meditation can be really hard. So, I think that this is, especially for people that don't have maybe as regular of a practice, this is a great way, I think, for beginners, because I feel like you don't have a choice, right? Like if you do the sensory deprivation, you turn everything off, after the first 10, 15 minutes, your brain gives up, right? And then it's just like nothing for the rest of that 60-minute flow where you can go very deep in your meditative state.
Yeah, that's one of the things that got me so turned on to floating is because, I saw first some like tight hips and, some back pain and things like that. And when I used to try to meditate, my body would always be the biggest factor for me getting into a deeper meditation. And once I experienced this, where, okay, you eliminate the body, simple, right? It's just gone. And then you're able to get into a deeper state. And, there's a lot of people that have never meditated in their lives before, and they said they almost had a transcendental experience where they just connected with consciousness or whatever you want to call it. And they just, they're blissful afterwards. And we call that the post-float bliss and the post-float glow, because when people come out of these tanks, they look like they just, went back in age about 10 years because, all the stress that we carry on the body, we're bombarded with advertisings. We're bombarded with this health and fear and all these things going on in the media. And when we're able to really unplug from that and kind of connect with our truest selves, that's when we understand what this life is about. It's not about taking all this outward stimulation and try to fit in with it. It's trying to create a happy, healthy place within so we can shine that light into the world, not the other way around.
I love that. And it's so true. And, this is a really one simple way that, women, especially and mamas that are listening, can practice self-care. And I think what I really wanted to make sure that my audience knows is that this is not, contraindicated during pregnancy, for example. You can do this while you're pregnant. You can do this, if you're trying to get pregnant and you're stressed, or you can do this as a new mom. How long after giving birth?
So we've had people come in probably like 3-4 weeks out.
That sounds about right. I was thinking a month. I mean, you got to let the birth canal heal. If there's any tearing, you're not going to be hopping in a salt pool that's going to burn. But once the tissue is healed, then I can see why it would be so beneficial. And, new motherhood is so stressful. So anything you can do to help manage the stress is going to be so helpful for the healing and for parenting and mothering your baby.
Absolutely. And, the towns that we live in, Hoboken and Jersey City, a lot of, younger couples are here. They don't really necessarily have, their parents living around to help them raise the child, or, having a nanny is very expensive. So a lot of times the mothers and the fathers are with the baby 24 hours a day. If hopefully they can get some relief from it. But when we're not taking care of ourselves or we're run down, then those stress hormones, they get, given to our children as well. So it's so important to take a little bit of time to reset yourself. And then also the sleep that's lost, right? So, a lot of mothers are up several times during the nighttime. When you're in a float tank, just 1 hour in a float tank is the equivalent of about 4 to 8 hours of deep REM sleep. So it's a really good hack that new mothers can apply and kind of catch up on all that lost sleep.
That's a great hack. I didn't even know that stat, but that's huge. I think there's a lot of sleep deprived people around here, not even mothers, other people as well. So if you're feeling and so then once again, we know how important sleep is, right? So if you can get a little sleep hack in and improve your quantity, so to speak, sleep in a less amount of time, that's going to help your immune system. That's going to help your mental clarity, right? You'll be more productive at work. Everything's going to work better when you're well rested.
Mm-hmm. Another good point is it actually lowers blood pressure. So obviously that's related, correlates to stress levels. But when you're in a zero gravity experience, your blood vessels can fully dilate, and then it reduces blood pressure and increases blood flow too. So also when you have better blood flow, obviously it helps with losing, the extra weight that women carry after giving birth and stuff like that. Helps them with stress, helps them with pain, circulation. So all these benefits. I mean, there's not really, bad effects of floating unless you have some of the contraindications we talked about, like epilepsy. or open wounds. But yeah, it helps on an overall holistic, level in the body.
And it's so simple. I just love that. I think that's a really holistic healing is just really that. It's like, let's make it less complicated and go back to the basics of what has Mother Nature given us to support the natural healing ability of the body.
100%. It's not even the therapy itself. It's just the body getting reset into homeostasis so that it can continue to work, just like you do when you adjust people. It's the body just getting back in alignment, and that's where all the magic happens.
That's right. Yeah, these therapies don't heal the body. They just remove the stress so that the body can heal itself. That's totally true. So, let's see. You know what I wanted to talk to a little bit about? We mentioned float helps lower cortisol levels. And before we started recording, you mentioned how there's research showing that's linked to in utero. We do know that pregnant mothers that are stressed, those hormones will go right into the baby, not just after birth, right? But actually while they're still pregnant. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'll actually send you the full study. I have it clipped here. I just briefly went through it, but essentially it was showing that children are affected by their mother's stress and cortisol levels during pregnancy, but then also afterwards, it does slow down their development if they still have those, that if they were affected greatly by the cortisol.
Right. And I remember like even in chiropractic school learning, because this is actually kind of newer technology to even for people to understand that chronic stress, emotional stress creates biochemical changes in the body. And I think Candace Pert was like one of the first scientists who published, and her book is Molecules of Emotion. So when we have, let's say, chronic negative emotions and stress, this will create these negative biochemical pathways and literally create different chemicals in our body. So the emotions create physical change. Like this has been scientifically proven now for the past few decades. So recognizing, yes, stress is part of our life. We can't eliminate it, but how do we best manage it in the most healthy manner, especially during pregnancy? How do women create boundaries to protect their energy, to protect the energy of the baby? Why this is so important.
Yeah, and engaging in happy activities as well, because the more endorphins you release, that the baby is going to get, affected by that as well in a positive way. And it's like an investment. It's like making sure our energy, our emotional state is in a positive way for the long-term health and development of our child, right? Cortisol is the biggest killer. It leads to inflammation, and inflammation is the root cause of pretty much every disease out there.
That's right. And then to your point, the opposite, right? How do we have more dopamine and these happy hormones? And it's really doing things that make us feel good physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So finding activities and rituals that you can commit to that will continue to help you feel good is so important. And that's that self-care that we were talking about, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And scheduling time for it, really. That's the biggest thing is we get caught up in this busy world that we live in. Even myself, I own a wellness spot where I have all the toys that I can play with. But it's a very long day. Some days I'm working all the time. So I really have to schedule it more than ever. I have to schedule those times where I can just kind of unplug and utilize some of these services.
Yeah. So personal question, how often do you float?
Yeah, so I float about twice a week. That's my flow when I'm in a really good state. Obviously, when it gets busy, maybe once a week, maybe once or twice every other week. So, but it's very important that I maintain my schedule, because I notice when I don't float as much, like the stress levels, they do increase.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it is, life happens, right? So I think that's the other thing. It's important to give ourselves permission if we fall off our self-care routine to not beat ourselves up, because that's not helpful. But, we kind of get through the fire, we get the fires out, and then we get back on track. And, and this is going to happen. I don't think anyone can just perfectly maintain their their self-care routine all the time, especially parents, right? Things do happen you have to address, but we want to make sure we don't get stuck in that pattern of putting out fires over and over and over. And we want to get back to like maintenance. And what I do find that when I'm managing my stress levels in the most healthy manner, even when there's a fire in front of me, I can react and manage that much more effectively than if I'm stressed and the cup is empty.
And the more we meditate, the more we do these kinds of activities, you start becoming the calm in the middle of the storm. So no matter how crazy things get, you're always going to be from a position of strength and centeredness.
Yeah, you're grounded, right? And that also goes back to the negative ions and just grounding yourself to Mother Earth, and getting the strength from there and not being like floating up like, getting blown all around. But you're like rooted.
For sure.
I love that. So what else do you want to share with us about floating?
Yeah, I mean, we've just had so many anecdotal, experiences from our clientele. We've had pregnant women floating throughout their entire pregnancy. Obviously, you want to talk to a physician, make sure that it's okay, get permission before engaging or get a recommendation from Dr. Laura. But I think it's important to make sure that we have a scheduled time. So either once a month or once a week in order to kind of de-stress, get that alkalization through the magnesium, the absorption of it. And then I think you mentioned, you were asking earlier about if we had any children do it. So no real young children. We do have an 18 plus policy, but we have made exceptions in the past. I usually like to have a conversation with someone if they're really interested. Hey, why do you want to float? And we had this 10-year-old kid, Max, he came in, his mom loved to float and he kept asking about it because I showed him the tanks one time. And he went in there and I tell you, he came out, he said, I was just meditating for an hour. He you would never think a 10-year-old would be okay being in there for like an hour at a time, but he came out and he was so happy. He's asking his mom all the time to do it again. So we've had some really good experiences. Also young athletes, 16, 17, they come in all the time. So for children, when do we get an opportunity to unplug from all the devices and everything? I think it's a good idea for children who are interested to look at it as well, or teenagers.
For sure. And, I have to say, I was reading somewhere that because of all the increased stress with the quarantine and COVID, how it's really impacted school-age children. Right. Like they were having to virtual or hybrid school. And, it's just been very detrimental to their mental health. And that's still ongoing, right? Like we're still dealing with some of this weirdness. So anything we can do to support these children is especially teenagers, man, they're like so vulnerable. You know what I mean? There's like so many emotions and hormones and it's intense.
And the lack of human connection that they're experiencing, like thinking like somebody is, they might have something and they don't want to get it. So like the distancing.
Yeah. Their friends are Facebook friends, right? Like that's not a real connection.
Yeah. And that was actually even an issue before COVID even happened. Like I was talking to a lot of my friends who have children 10 years old all the way to 16. And they're like, yeah, like they go to school with kids and then they rush home so they could get on the computer, play video games against each other, but nobody's like hanging out. Like when we were younger, like I'd be out on the street riding my bike with all my friends and we would just go out there. And it's a little bit different nowadays, but there's a lot of great things about technology, but there's also a lot of detriments, when we're not becoming full human beings, when we're just always in that technology zone. And obviously there's so much EMF and things like that come away with it. So we got to make sure we're taking care of our health on every level, mentally, physically, spiritually.
Yeah. And I think it's awesome if there's a child showing interest, why not have, and once again, I think what really stood out to me about that story about Max is, how did he find out about this? It's his mother. So as parents, we model self-care for our children. This is not us telling them how to take care of themselves. It's showing them. And when we do it, we're not being selfish. We're actually being very generous to ourselves and then to our family, because the whole family benefits, especially when mama takes care of herself.
That's the pillar of the family for sure. And yeah, it's an investment. And then she's happier, and then the kids become happier because she's able to give more of her truest self.
Yeah. When you fill yourself up, you're going to be more of a patient mom. I mean, parenting is test your patience to a level you've never seen. And anything you can do to help be more patient and not so reactive. You're going to be reactive if you're tired, you're in pain, you're exhausted. I mean, that is a recipe for an explosion, right? And but if you're like really feeling good, it doesn't matter what your kid's throwing at you, man. You can manage it, and you can do it from a place of clarity and consciousness.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm looking forward to the day where I get to be a dad.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a lot of work, but parenting is all about growing yourself. I think your child is there to reflect back to you where you still need to do your work. Oh, you thought you did that? Well, you need to do a little more. And that's a beautiful thing, right? Those tests, when you're getting tested and tested and tested, this is all about evolving yourself. Yeah. So cool. All right. Well, anything last thoughts you want to share?
No, I thank you so much for this opportunity to come on the pod. If anyone wants to check out Om Life Wellness, I believe Dr. Laura, she can put the promo code for a little discount there. But Om Life Wellness, we're at downtown Jersey City, and then if anyone wants to follow my podcast, it's called the Limitless One Podcast, and it's just you go to my website. It's www.myfirstname Anand ANAND.com. So it's Anand.com. Or sorry, Anand.life.
Anand.life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. And I wanted to make sure you shared about your podcast as well, so listeners can check it out.
Yeah. So the Limitless One Podcast is just, I interview really inspiring people who are living a limitless journey in their particular field of purpose. And I would love to have Dr. Laura on. We spoke about this to talk about how she's healing lots of allergies and all kinds of amazing things. So I'm at like 42 episodes right now. I started last year, and it is an amazing experience for me to just interview really inspiring people. And I learned so much, and my audience learned so much. So I hope you guys check it out. Thank you.
Totally. I really echo the thought of being a podcast guest, and every single episode, I learn something new by doing that interview and interviewing an expert in their field. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Well, once again, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, learning about holistic healing modality, flotation therapy, specifically how it can be beneficial for stress management, infertility, pregnancy, and new motherhood. And for any of our podcast listeners who live in the Jersey City area and can physically go visit Om Life, please mention code HBCairo for $20 off a 60-minute float.